Kei te tuakana Carol tēnā koe, o tira tēnā tātou katoa. Nōku te maringa nui ki te whakanui I te akonga whakahirahira o mua tuatahi. It's with great joy and hopefully laugh that we celebrate our first 2025 Distinguished Alumni Award winner, Dai Henwood. Dai Henwood has been performing comedy for over 25 years, beginning in Wellington at Te Herenga Waka, Victoria University of Wellington, where he studied theatre and film. Well known for his appearances on 7 Days, Dai has also hosted the New Zealand Music Awards, Family Feud, Dancing with the Stars, and my personal favourite, Lego Masters New Zealand. He has won numerous awards for comedy, including the Billy T Award and Best Male Comedian at the New Zealand Comedy Guild Awards 9 times. In 2024, he published the best-selling book, Life of Dai, and documentary Live and Let Die, which shared his journey with stage 4 cancer. He was named an Officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit in the 2025 King's Birthday Honours for services to the entertainment industry and charitable fundraising. I would now like to ask that Chancellor Alan Judge and Vice-Chancellor Nick Smith come to the stage to present Dai with his award. E te iwi, homai te pakipaki, please join me in welcoming Dai to the stage.
Dai, it is absolutely fantastic to see you. I'm going to start with basically you studying theatre and drama. I've got to say it feels like it's a very natural fit for you, something like shooting fish in a barrel, given that you were brought up in the company of actors mainly. Can you tell us about your somewhat unconventional upbringing?
Well, they also left out the second part of my degree, which was psychedelic Eastern religion. Because
I think they had to, really. They were leaving it for you.
I had a fascination with why shamans would give people psychedelics to control tribes, and anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But no, I was fascinated by theatre and film, and I mean, it was no strange thing that I was brought up in a theatre. My father was Dai Henwood, who was a celebrated actor and Wellingtonian and such an amazing man who we sadly lost. And my mother, Dame Carol Hirschfeld, is
here with us.
Who's here
and
right
gave
there.
Your hand a little squeeze. Yes.
Absolutely. Another distinguished alumni.
She gave you a little squeeze before you came up, which I thought was delightful.
And they, along with others, started Circa Theatre, which
Incredible.
Was where I grew up, basically, through theatre meetings, going and seeing Dag shows, and theatre was just in the blood, really. And even though you obviously can't push someone to do something, I was drawn to theatre. I loved laughter. Since I was 5, I wanted to be a comedian, pretty much, I think.
I think you said in your book, it wasn't that I made a conscious decision to pursue comedy. I didn't have a choice. It kind of grabbed you.
Yeah, I just remember making people laugh and the amazing feeling that it gave me. And I was chatting to someone before, and a story sparked from me from when I was in theatre and film there, and it was I was under the wonderful Phil Mann and John Downey and David Carnegie, and I was in a show where I had to play this character Baal from Brecht, and I had to molest this woman. Right, he was a very bad guy. Well, that molesting probably indicates that.
It's a clue.
And for some reason, they cast a very tall woman who is now a police officer. And so I was doing this sort of creepy molesting. Right?
Around her ankles.
Yeah, and the whole crowd was just laughing. And afterwards, Phil Mann came up to me and went, "You know, you're a comedian." Because I wasn't taking the mickey. He identified us just going to be a comedian. And the joy was he let that flourish. And we had university comedy competitions back then, so Victoria travelled up to Auckland and competed against all the other universities. And comedy was electric to me. But a big part of me wondered whether I was doing something that would do good, because I was like, I'm just getting up and making people laugh, right? And is that worthy, you know? Because so many other people are doing these huge things for society.
Somebody in your own household, really.
Yes.
I think, in the shape of your mum.
No, I mean, my mum has done so much for youth justice, for the theatre, for really fighting for underprivileged people and so forth in the justice system. And I was like, well, I'm just getting up telling jokes in a bar. And then I was doing a show, and afterwards this woman came up to me and she said, "I just want to say that my husband passed away last week. And when you're on stage, I was honestly laughing. And when you honestly laugh, you forget everything." And then I was like, actually, I'm bringing positive emotions and positive endorphins to people. And I realised how strong the power of comedy was.
Changing the world in the very best way.
Yeah, and people love to laugh. And laughter is such a beautiful emotion. And whether you're poor, whether you're rich, whether you're in a war-torn situation, there's still laughter, and that is the escape. And you don't need money to laugh.
I mean, it was your passion, and you were obviously good at it. But how difficult was it to make it into an actual career?
So hard, especially so I started in 1997, and this was in a time when New Zealand had quite a severe cultural cringe about hearing New Zealand voices, whether it be music, art, comedy, theatre. It was a bit like, oh, you know, we're Kiwis, you know. So an Irish comedian would come and people love the Irish guy.
So much better.
Yeah, the British guy. And I was doing, we were doing shows at the Levin Cosmopolitan Club. We'd do them.
It was the high life, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were doing them anywhere. And Upper Hutt, sort of, we'd travel around, Te Awamutu, wherever there was a pub, we'd go and do a show. And they would just be, well, you're not Billy T, mate. Because that was the thing. There was Billy T, there was Fred Dagg, there was, there were people who were succeeding, like Mike King, Te Reira, and so forth were doing it. And it was a real fight. So it was like there wasn't money in it. So I don't know why I was doing it. I was working in bars and stuff, and then it got to a tipping point where I put on a show and I won the Billy T Award, and that gave me some money, and I sort of invested that and went, I want to make this a career. And went to Melbourne Festival and Edinburgh Festival. Both were disastrous. Lost a lot of money and a lot of dignity. And because this is at a time where I was living with the Jermaine and Brett from the Flight of the Conchords over in Edinburgh. Right. This was the year they were on the hockey stick to superstardom. They'd just got the BBC radio show. There was the talks again, this TV show. And I was going and performing to 4 people, and they were the hottest ticket out there. And but they were such lovely humans. They were so supportive. So then I came back, and I sort of tweaked everything I was doing about comedy. I was doing characters at the time, and then I went, I'm just going to be me on stage, and I did that. And then I was invited over to the Just for Laughs Festival in Montreal, which is the most prestigious comedy festival because it's an invite-only festival. And like my MC was Joan Rivers, which was just, there were all these Hollywood stars, and it was just blew me away. And then that sort of then I came back and I started to get some TV opportunities, and I just said yes to things, and dominoes started falling, and I feel very blessed.
I mean, I think that being in a situation where you're sharing a house with people who are having an incredible run of success, and then how did you actually manage to find the confidence after losing it as hard as you did when things weren't going so well in Edinburgh?
That's the point where I knew that this was my life, because I couldn't not do it. I got back and there was no, I'll do something else. I'll get another job or I'll study something else. It was, no, I'll book some gigs and get back on stage, because I had such an amazing community and group of friends who have become lifelong friends and they're the biggest support to me. And it was just electric. And when you do what you love and then you start to earn a little bit of money out of it, it was amazing. And then we were just pushing the boundaries with TV. You know, we had a show called Insert Video Here, which was the loosest show on TV. We'd edit it.
Big call.
And we'd edit it and we'd run it straight into Prez, where they basically put it in and press play. So no one could watch it. So it had to just go straight to air. So we'd run in and go, sorry, we're late. And they'd grab it and chuck it
Questions
in.
afterwards.
Then we had Andrew Schusterman, who was out there and going, hey, what happened to the viewing? And we're like, oh, you can turn on the telly, mate. You can watch it there. And we were lucky we were on a side channel, so only people who really wanted to see it saw it. And then that sort of just spiraled. And it was just having fun, making mates, and fun has always been what my life has been about. And I always think that people need to look at things like fun and comedy as positives. You know, if fun is electric, life's what fun is about.
Fun is one of the main tenets of your life, but also you're a very spiritual person too, Dai. And I want to go back to what you mentioned. When you were studying here at Vic, you also took a course in comparative religions, and Eastern religion became something that was incredibly important to you. And how there was a point in your life where you could have gone in another direction, because you were involved in comedy, but you were also very attracted to this side of life.
Yeah, well, I was lucky enough to travel over to Japan very young and go there a few times, because Dad was touring the Phantom of the Opera around Japan. And we go over there, and one of the actors, Helen Mulder, she was Buddhist. And I was young, about 13, and she took me to a temple, and I learned Zazen meditation and Zen Buddhism, and in a sort of, I think my first experience of meditation was a 2-hour meditation, which is a lot for a 13-year-old. But I became fascinated with it, and Japan just spiritually stuck to me, and I sort of really got intrigued with mainly why people believe, and why every culture has a belief system that has a similar basis. And then I chose to get on the beers for 20 years. And then I sort of came back to the spirituality through a cancer diagnosis. And it was that irony of how everything sort of happened through a perfect reason. I had this basis in meditation and spirituality, and that has now brought me peace and the ability to deal with what a lot of people would find an undealable situation.
Absolutely. Another great characteristic that you have learned over the years, it seems to me, though, is the ability to reframe life in a very specific way. And this came as a result of I think it was Michelle Court gave you some advice.
Oh, yes, the wonderful Michelle Court. It was, as I used to throw up before every comedy gig.
I mean,
For the first...
was there just a little clue that maybe it wasn't a life for you? Just, vomiting every time you went on stage?
I just had, if I'm not nervous, I'm not doing it right, These people have paid money to see me. I've got to be nervous. I've got to be on my toes. Then Michelle Court, who's still a great friend, said, look, nerves and excitement are the same emotion. You've just got to flip it in your head and think, oh no, I'm excited, I'm not nervous. And then I started thinking about just being excited and focusing on that feeling, and that really helped me. And then reframing has been just everything for me. Because even though I'm currently living with a stage 4 cancer diagnosis that under current treatment is deemed incurable, I feel blessed. I'm blessed for the life I have and my whānau, my friends. I could not have a better situation to support me through this. And I have a mantra that is, optimism won't cure me, but pessimism will kill me. So I've got to keep a smile on my face and I've got to keep optimistic.
I want to fangirl you hard about your book, The Life of Dai. It is an incredible book. And it's not... It's very much about your life becoming a comedian and then having the diagnosis of cancer. But it's tender, it's funny, but it's really informative as well. My favourite chapter, I think, is when you went public with your diagnosis. Tell us a little bit about
that. Was huge, because I got diagnosed in 2020 at the beginning of COVID. When COVID was, no one knew what was going on. We're just isolating at home, I went to you go to the supermarket and I'm in West Auckland, there was a guy in a wetsuit with a snorkel. No, I don't think you have to be in the medical field to realise a snorkel...
With strange times, for sure.
A snorkel's not the way to deal with it. But, so... I was diagnosed then, and I didn't go public till to the beginning of 2023, and I just felt that I wasn't being authentic to myself. I was still doing stand-up gigs, and I was sort of getting up and just trying to, hey, be funny, I'll die, and I just had this weight around me. And so I chose to go public. A good friend of mine, Jackie Brown, we did an interview, and it sort of was an hour interview where I explained everything. And just the outpouring of love I got from around Aotearoa was amazing, and it fully blew me away, because I'd spent so many years performing in every little nook and cranny of this beautiful country, and hearing people from everywhere. Some people didn't get the end of it though, because I was at the cafe the next day, and this guy came up and went, I saw that interview, it was amazing. I'm very sorry to hear about your AIDS. And I'm like, well, how close... Thanks for the sentiment, but how closely did you watch that? And I was public, and then with that outpouring, and then I actually went, hold on, I'm a comedian, I'm articulate, I sort of have a spiritual bent. I can help people now, I can do something worthy. And I'm in contact with so many people who have cancer, who email me, who send me messages, and I've made amazing friends. I've sort of helped people with a little toolbox I have, because like I did chemo last week, I'll be doing it again next week, and little toolboxes to get through it, because that's my thing. I'm living with cancer. That's the thing, you're still living. So it was being able to help people and meet people and actually find out in a time where we are so politically diverse and the internet feels so angry and that, actually see the outpouring of love was amazing. And it made me realise how beautiful human beings actually are. And I still travel around doing gigs in rural New Zealand, and whether people are right wing or left wing, when you get them in the room for a laugh and you actually look people in the eyes and chat to them, humans love each other. So I just think that hopefully one day we all start chucking love at a problem rather than hate, and we might get somewhere.
I loved in the book when you talked about travelling through the country and meeting one or two loose units.
Yep.
Loose units in the wild, you call them.
Yeah.
Because they seemed quite drawn to you too. But tell me, why do you feel okay and comfortable with people that many of us would feel maybe threatened by?
Well, I've always been approachable, and I'm not massive in stature, which I think sort of helps. It's a hindrance because the guy in Blenheim tried to wear me like a hat repetitively, which is very frustrating. I'm also, I enjoy loose units because my job's telling stories, and I get to meet crazy people, and crazy people like to sort of unload all their stuff on me, and it's great because humans are, like I was saying, I actually believe humans are awesome underneath it all. So I love chatting to people and just hearing their crazy little stories, and New Zealand's so good for that, especially after comedy gigs.
I think one of the things too that I was struck in the book was how you have for so long been doing a job which, again, many of us would find just too brutally difficult to stand up in front of people and expose yourself in the way that you do, your soul, who you are, authentically. How do you keep the boundaries so that you are whole?
What is weird is I'm quite a private person as well. At home I'm a very quiet person. I'm quite a quiet person. But when I'm on stage I'm very gregarious, and I have my moments of being very gregarious. For me, it's stillness is how I keep myself whole. I spend a lot of time just being very still and quiet and sitting with my thoughts, which I think more humanity needs to do more of. We're all a bit distracted. If you actually sit and think sort of what are your core values and things like that, actually think who you are as a human, it's really beneficial, and I do that a lot. And that's what sort of centres me and keeps me calm.
Because you used to be a rusher, you said.
Yes, I was a chronic rusher. My dad was a rusher. He'd rush around.
Yeah.
He'd need 3 things from the dairy, so he'd go there 3 times.
I don't like that.
So I would rush around and I'd get quite tense, and then I just realised I need to be still, I need to be quiet, and things just happen. And they just happen, and trying to sort of get my head around the idea that things happen and they're not good or bad, they just happen. And that there isn't fairness is just this thing we sort of made up. Things just happen, and for me it was realising I've got to figure out just how I respond to things, because cancer doesn't define me. How I respond to cancer defines me, and I feel I've responded by holding my head up high with dignity, by helping people, and that sort of makes my heart happy as well. So yeah, getting out of rushing was hard, but it just took time to sort of reevaluate myself.
You mentioned that you have toolkits, and again, one of the great things about your book is that there's tons of tips about how to deal with cancer and how people who are dealing with people with cancer might act. So what are your top tips in terms of talking to people who are dealing with cancer?
Well, my top tips say if you've discovered a friend has cancer, you're trying to support someone with cancer. The thing is, I find it very hard. People always sort of broadly ask, "How are you?" Which is such a so
There's a lot in between. Yeah.
It's you don't need to talk about cancer. Like honestly, if you're going out for a coffee with someone, just hey, do you want to talk about it, or should we park it up? And a very human response is, if someone says something, you want to tell your story, like, oh, I went to see Coldplay. Oh, I met that guy, Chris Martin, at the airport. And they tell their story. And with cancer, people so often go, hey, my auntie had bowel cancer. But the thing is, those stories very rarely end well. So it's quite depressing. And it's like, I'm really sorry to hear about your auntie, mate. So just be a bit mindful around that. And also just get little gifts.
Yeah, I love the
little gifts.
Yeah, you've had some beautiful ones.
Uber Eats vouchers, comfortable pants. Everyone needs more comfortable pants in their life.
Something for the bath.
Yeah, something for the bath.
Good things for your skin.
Yeah, moisturisers, good things for your skin. Little pamper people. And the main tip is what I said before, is people are living with cancer. So they're living. They might want to go out to the golf driving range. They might want to go and play bowls. Like, do something. They're not. Obviously, there are situations when, like when I'm doing chemo, you are doing it rough,
Yeah.
And this particular area, I've done it very rough with some. I was actually on the way to hospital when I got the call about receiving this award. So, just kindness, openness. Don't shy away. Don't shy away. And for anyone who is dealing with a cancer diagnosis, let people in. Let your friends in. Let your family in, because they love you.
You have written a lot about your remarkable community of supporters and friends, and you set up a WhatsApp group for your friends.
Yeah, I've got about 36 people in it now.
It's amazing. And I'm sure some of them who you met at university. But also you have some incredible wahine toa in your life, your wife, your best man.
My best man was Justine
Smith.
She's been my best friend and worked in comedy alongside me since the get-go.
And of course your mother, Carol.
Yeah.
So shall we just have a moment to shout out to them?
Absolutely. I would not be the human I am and the man I am without strong women in my life, and it was a blessing, I think, having a mother who, smashed through the glass ceiling in a time when sexism was still rife as a young female judge in New Zealand, and having that as a role model was amazing. And all the women in my life are very strong women, physically as well. So there's no way I was going to be sexist. but oh no, I wasn't implying Mum beat me up, by the way. But yeah, having strong women in my life was so amazing, and I think it's really important for men and for women to have friends of the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Because it gives you proper perspective and it makes you learn more about, I've got a lot of friends who are women, so that actually makes me understand my wife better, or they can tell me how to understand my wife better. So yeah, that's been a blessing.
And your children, do you see them having the same sort of friend groups where they've got both boys, girls all the time?
Yeah, nowadays what I reckon's really cool is we're in Avondale in Auckland. It's not the most salubrious suburb, but the local schools, right, there's young kids are way more accepting than we were at a young age, you know. There's kids that are way more open with their sexuality and so forth, and it's just accepted, which I love. And I mean, I can see my son's becoming, he's got a great friend group, and he's becoming a bit of a comedian, unfortunately, which is great.
Well, I was going to ask, do you think there's a possibility they may?
Well, I went into his school report thing, and the teacher was like, "Oh, your son's very funny. We have jokes together, and he just cracks the class up a lot." And I was, "Hey, thanks very much. We'll see you next time." And he was, "Oh, do you want to hear about the education side of it?" Oh, yeah, sorry, that's why we're here. And no, they've both got a great sense of humour. And my thing is, I was blessed to have parents who encouraged me to do what I loved. So I want to encourage my kids to just do what they love doing, no matter what it is. But as long as my children are happy, I don't care if their job is looking at trees in a beautiful park. If they have honest peace and happiness in their life, and all they want to do is look at a tree, then that's cool, because they're happy. And I think not enough people actually focus, because everyone looks at, I read an amazing thing on all the palliative nurses, and they all have the same thing when people pass away. It's spent too much time doing a job I didn't want to do, spent too much time not with my family, spent too much time trying to impress people I don't know why I was trying to impress. So whatever truly makes my kids' hearts sing, I'll encourage that 100%.
And do you feel that you have the peace to feel happy most of the time?
Yes, I am a happy person.
That's beautiful.
And even like last week I had a chemo round, and it was a tolerable chemo round, and I actually had lots of happy moments during it. And I'm sort of chipper this week because I received this, and I had sort of positive scan results that my treatment was going the way it should be going. So I am happy, and my baseline is happiness. And it was very important to me when I found out what true happiness was, that happiness is more like contentment. I confused happiness with excitement in my younger years. As, you know,
as we
have a couple of beers, I'm with my mate. So I thought that was happiness, but that's excitement. And then I realised happiness is actually quite a calm emotion. Happiness is quite a calm inner peace. And once I discovered that, I realised that for me, nature makes me really happy, and cancer crystallises time. All I have is 24 hours, so every morning I wake up and I think, hey, we've got today, so let's enjoy it.
Well, Dai Henwood, we have absolutely enjoyed your company tonight.
Oh,
Thank
thanks,
you
Carol.
so much, and congratulations for being a distinguished alumni.
Thanks to everyone at Victoria University. It's been a huge part of my
Thank
life.
you.
And
Can we show
thank you.
our love?